everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dream Big, Pray Hard, Never Quit interview series. Today we have with us Ronnie Wise. He is the Area Director for FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Ronnie, how you doing today, man?
Doing great, RJ. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. That lead-in was kind of loud, wasn't it? Was it too loud?
Good.
Okay, good.
No.
I'm not going to erase that. I just think, hey, I like my radio voice. So, kind of like with all the other interviews, I'm going to kind of let you tell us about yourself, tell us about FCA, and kind of what you do, and then I'll just kind of interrupt because that's what I'm good at, and ask questions as we go along. How's that sound?
That sounds great. So as RJ said, I'm Ronnie Wise, Area Director for Fellowship of Christian Athletes over Wayne, Lenoir, and Greene County. I've been married for 30 years. This past June 16th, made 30 years with my high school sweetheart. Yeah.
Look, I just got my dogs barking from clapping.
Together we have 5 sons and a grandson on the way. 2 of my sons are married, third one about to get married. Fourth one says it's going to be a few years, and my 15-year-old, he is not even interested in marriage at the moment. So,
well, that's a good thing. 15's a little young.
Great thing. That's a great thing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But enjoying being a grandpa, that's cool. That's really cool. So, I was a youth pastor for 17 years in Charlotte. That's where I started out in the ministry at 21 years old. Served as a youth pastor there at a church, and a principal. The pastor asked me to start a school up while I was there. So we started a school and was the principal and youth pastor. About 12 years ago, my family and I moved out to Mount Olive, where I became a senior pastor and was a senior pastor for 10 years, and then resigned from that and took this position with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, which was kind of really a cool story. Will Collins was the area director at that time. And just tell you how I got started in FCA. He asked me if I would be interested in being the campus representative to the University of Mount Olive for FCA. And so I said, well, what does that even mean? What do I do? And he talked to me about it, and I said, man, yeah, I'd love to do that. Now, I was never a great athlete. I was just the guy on the court or on the field that would outwork the other people to get a starting position. Didn't have raw talent, just had a work ethic. And so even though I wasn't a great athlete, for whatever reason, God has wired me so that seems to be a niche where I have to minister and to help people. I started, even as a pastor here in Mount Olive, I started coaching Little League ball, helped some with middle school ball. So they asked me to be an area rep or the campus rep. So I started doing that for about 2 years, just 5 to 10 hours a week, doing what I did. And then he said, listen, I'm stepping down. Me and my wife are starting a business. That was Will. And we need an area director. And at first I was like, no, I love what I'm doing right now. One of the things about working for FCA is the way you get paid is there's a salary band that you're allowed to make. And they say, okay, here's what you can make. Now go out and raise funds. So very much like a missionary. It's a nonprofit organization. So you have to recruit people to be on what we call your home team to support. And that just kind of scared me, to be honest. I'm that pastor that doesn't ask people for money. I don't want to be that guy. I'm one of the few pastors probably that anybody ever said, hey, you ought to preach on tithing. Sometimes I just didn't do it.
You know what? I totally get that. I totally understand that, because even with Dream Big, I hate putting stuff out there for donations and wristbands. And I'm just not that guy. I'd be a horrible salesperson because I hate asking for money.
Yes.
But, I guess in ministry, I guess it's kind of something you have to do, and you kind of got to get over that hump sometimes to do it.
Well, I had to get past the mindset. It wasn't asking, hey, will you give me money? It's, here's the ministry that I'm doing, and in order to do that, it takes money. Would you like to partner with me on that? you're furnishing the finances. I'm furnishing the strong back and the time. And so I told him, I'm not interested in that.
Right.
I was secure at as a pastor at the church. It was a growing church. We became a debt-free church. And I was secure. They provided me with a home. I lived in the parsonage. They provided me with a car to drive, steady paycheck, and to step away from that security out on faith,
I didn't say a step of faith right there.
Yes, it was all, to me, it seemed more like a leap of faith.
Leap of faith. There you go.
Yeah. And, but amazingly, I prayed, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, you're going to have to do it because I can't. And he did. The finances were supplied to where I could, step away and take this position. So now I've been doing it full time as area director for about a year and a half. September will make 2 years.
Ron, I'm gonna interrupt you just because I want to make this point. I know this is of course Dream Big, Pray Hard, Never Quit, and I've even done a little video on Leap of Faith. But I love how you kind of told that story because anytime you go after a dream, you're taking a leap of faith. Because if it's that big, you're scared to death to do it. And if you're not scared to death to go after your dream, it's just not big enough. That's right. God wants you to take that leap of faith so he can say, okay, you trusted me, I got you.
Yes.
And I think that was a good point you made. I just wanted to put an exclamation point on it. So thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, you feel free to interrupt. One of the things that helped me is, my wife and I've made it a point. I'm making a big decision. I don't want her just to say, well, if you think this is right, I'll go along with it. I want us to both, the Bible says we're one flesh. We're a team. And so I wanted us to come to the viewpoint of, yes, we both think this is the right move. And not only had the Lord knitted my heart to this ministry and caused me to fall in love with it, he did the same with my wife. We were, as campus rep at the university, we had some of the athletes would store their hunting rifles on our kitchen table. Now that's a good lady to let some guys do that.
That's right.
And there were woods behind my house, and they would call.
Well, she was used to being around boys.
Yes. So I would tell them, look, they'd call, hey, can we go hunting? I said, yeah, where the key is to the house. Go on in there, get your rifle, go hunting. They would do that. We'd have some over to eat. Which we had even been doing that before working with FCA, inviting college students over to eat for Thanksgiving or whatever. When I first started with FCA at the college, I didn't even tell them I was a pastor. Other people would. I didn't invite them to my church because I didn't want them thinking, oh, he's doing this just to get us to come to church. I just went over there and created a ministry of presence on the campus. I just told, listen, I'm here for you. Coaches, if you want me to line a field, cut your grass, scrub a toilet, wipe sweat off your court, I'm here for you. Well, after a semester, they bought into it. And on a Sunday morning, we would have 25 coaches and athletes sitting in our congregation that I hadn't invited. They just knew, hey, this guy cares about us. I want to see what he's about. So it grew from there. Now, I still do a lot at the university, but I'm also over Wayne, Lenore, and Greene County. So as an area director, what that means is I'm not just going into the schools and onto the teams, but I'm also over developing a staff to handle that. Just in the high schools and middle schools, one day I looked up online, all the schools in those 3 counties, started adding up how many teams they have. If you count varsity, JV, girls teams, guys teams, and I came up with around 350 teams. Wow. That's not even counting the private schools, charter schools, any of those. That's not counting rec league. You count all that, and there's probably over 700 teams in those 3 counties. And I thought, man, what a mission field. And so now I'm creating a staff. I inherited one staff, Mike Jenkins, in Lenore and Greene County. Man, you'd love to have him on here sometime. I think I know. That name sounds awful familiar. Oh man, he grew up in the projects in Kinston, and really rough background. Turned his life over to Christ, and now he's an area rep for me out there. And since then, I've hired 2 more that are right now part-time, working towards, as they raise their support, going full-time. And then we have vision to hire more people as the finances come along. So it's just really an awesome ministry. One of the things FCA did for years was we'd go in, and if a student wanted to, it has to be student-initiated, student-led, help them start a Bible club along with all the other clubs at the school. But what we found is in a lot of cases, the athletes who are, we want to reach everybody we can, but that's our niche.
Right.
Our strategy is to and through the coach. A lot of them couldn't make it to the FCA meeting because they're either riding the bus to school before school, or they're at a practice or a game after school, and that's when a lot of the huddles were. So we've gone to a vision of having a huddle per team. And we're resourcing and equipping volunteers, character coaches, to work with the teams themselves. And we've seen a lot of traction with that, a lot of gratitude from the coaches, a lot of gratitude from the athletes. And
so is that kind of what we did at ACOC? We had someone, and I forgot the name. Please forgive me if you see this and I forgot your name. But I think we had one or two. No, not your name, Ronnie. Not your name. No. The gentleman who would come out to the practices once a week.
Yes, sir.
And he would, and we had 2. One year it was one, and the next year it was someone else. And I thought it was awesome to see all those kids. I mean, high school football practice, you're done, you're drained, out in this heat that is miserable.
Yeah.
And then, you see 30 kids go into a weight room to talk about God. And I was just sitting there going, wow, this is pretty amazing that they took the time out to do this. And so those people that come out to these schools, it really means a lot to these kids.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're even trying to go beyond that. So with that, let's say, for instance, a character coach, which is similar to what you're describing that individual would have been. They operate as an extension of the coach, and the coach is actually has all the liberty in the world to say, hey, I need you to talk to my guys about a work ethic or integrity or whatever. But now we're also trying to identify the student leader or athlete leader on that team that is a believer, and then equip them and resource them so that they, as a peer, so now you have the peer-to-peer interaction, can lead those groups. I saw last year ACOC soccer. There's a young man on that team who organized that on his team. And after practice, even without the other coaches, whoever wanted to, it was non-compulsory, would gather together. He'd share something with them out of the scriptures. They pray together, encourage each other, and going about their way. But he was motivated enough to do that, which is a great thing. So that's something we'd like to see on every team. There's one aspect of you as a coach talking to your blue in the face, saying the same thing over and over.
Right.
Get that outside source to come in and say the same thing, and the kids will say, oh, yeah, I get that. Coach, guess what he told us?
Like being a parent, you're telling your kids the same thing, then someone else comes in and says it, and they're like, Mom, Dad, you're like, I've been telling you that for years, but someone else has to come in to say it.
Yes, and so that's sort of what the FCA staff, the character coach, volunteer does, but then to have that extra layer, that peer-to-peer, having a student leader lead that is that much more powerful.
Oh, exactly.
Yes, sir. So that's kind of where we're at right now. That's what we're doing.
Well, that is awesome. So you have 3 counties that you're the area rep for 3 counties.
Yes, sir.
300 schools, plus actually much more, but
teams. Not 300 schools.
Yeah, 300 teams. And what a mission. I mean, you've got your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
and I'm sure you make a lot of contacts with the coaches. You've talked about the University of Mount Olive, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. I
Yes.
graduated there. My wife graduated there. My daughter graduated there. And they have made a ton of money off my family.
Yeah.
But what other universities are you involved with, or colleges?
Well, that and Lenore Community are the only ones with sports teams in our 3 counties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we just my staff, that's the only ones we'll deal with, and we still don't have a good foothold in Lenore Community. Right now, though, our strong foothold as far as the university is University of Mount Olive. Now, all over, not just all over the nation, but all over the world, FCA deals with universities. There are some universities that have full-time campus reps or campus directors just for them. I'm thinking of Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill, NC State, some of those universities. But yeah, all over the world, FCA is reaching coaches and athletes.
How many, and I don't know if you can answer this, all over the world, how many chapters does FCA have, you think?
Oh,
is
wow.
chapter a good, I don't even know if that's a good term to use.
I don't know that, man, I don't even know how to answer that, because I think we have over 2,000 employees.
Wow. Okay.
That's at least nationwide. I don't think that's worldwide. I think that's just nationwide, that we have 2,000 people that are ministering as staff for FCA. I believe that's the correct number.
Now, if a person wanted to get involved, I'm just chilling out back here, leaning in my chair. If someone wanted to get involved in FCA, how would they go about doing that?
Well, they would first contact one of the FCA staff, who would then let the area director know. The area director would meet that person, interview that person. And I've actually had people call and say, hey, I'm interested in working for FCA. And most of the time they're interested until they learn they have to raise their support. That seals the deal right there. So that weeds out anybody that's just looking for a job.
Right.
Because it's not just a job. It is a ministry where we give of ourselves. But once they say, yeah, I'm really still interested in doing this, then they have to fill out what's called a MLA, Ministry Leaders application, which does a background search on.
I was going to say, do they get vetted, or how's that?
Yes.
Yeah, so they do all that. Okay.
They have to get vetted through that procedure there. And then depending on what area, now things can get a little different in how the interview process goes. Like I'll interview, if necessary. We have a board, a local FCA board, made up of some great guys here in Wayne, Lenore, and Greene County. And I may say, hey, can they meet with y'all as well? Or can they talk with you on the phone? I'll ask my board, hey, get the word out, see if you can find out anything about this person's reputation, locally, make sure there's no red flags.
Right.
So after that, then they have to go through some training. The first training is about 25 hours of online training. Then they have to fly out to Kansas City to what we call boot camp. After 3 days at boot camp, that usually lets them really know, okay, is this what I'm called to do, or is this just an itch I was trying to scratch?
And that is a good call to do.
Yes.
You're not just going to get involved in something like this and do kind of what you do to scratch an itch. I mean, it takes major dedication. It's good that you have that process that they can kind of, those 3 days, you're like, okay, wait a minute, is this really what I want to do? Unlike the military, you sign up for the military, you go to boot camp and you're in. I mean,
that's right.
The next 2 to 4 years, you're in. There's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. No, it doesn't work that way.
That's right.
All right, well,
that's
good.
Right.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So after they do the 3 days?
Oh, okay. And so after that 3 days at boot camp, they come home, and if they've decided, yeah, this is definitely what I'm called to do, then they have to finish their support raising, and they're supposed to be 100% funded before FCA will actually hire them. And the purpose for that is someone will, could very easily say, yeah, hey, hire me now. I'll raise the support as I go. And then they run into the brick walls or the obstacles and realize, oh, now I can't do it. That's pretty discouraging.
What's 100%, what you said?
Fully funded?
Yeah. What's fully funded look like?
Well, that depends on what position they're applying for, because that also depends on the amount of responsibility and the amount of hours.
Right.
So, for instance, I hired 2 people this year as part-time, Chris and Brandon. They're just working. Well, Chris started out just 10 hours a week. So however many dollars per hour, 10 hours a week, you figure that, and that's how they figure they're fully funded. But they also have to raise enough to cover the taxes. They're not just raising enough for their own salary. They're raising enough for, what we say is you got to raise enough to have a fruitful family and a fruitful ministry.
Right.
Because they're going to be buying Bibles out of those funds. They're going to be buying, going to see a team. Hey, take a pizza with them.
Exactly. Right.
So they're going to be doing camp scholarships. All that comes out of that support that we raise. So what I
do a lot of work.
Yes, it is a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, if you care.
Right. Right. Exactly.
If you don't care, it wouldn't be that much. But if you care, yeah. So what I've tried to do as an area director is, I know it's tough to start from scratch to try to raise that money to be fully funded. So to try to help expedite those things, with Chris and Brandon, I said, okay, listen, we'll bring you on. I have your first full year covered. I've already raised that. I have it set aside in a staff development account. And so what you need to make it for the first year, I already have it. But once this year's over, it's not there. So you have a year, to be raising those funds. And my plan is the second year, which I don't usually tell them this, but the second year I don't plan on cutting it all the way out, but just cutting 50% of it.
Right.
Then the third year down to 15% until they're totally funded on their own.
Well, if they see this interview, they're going to know that.
I know, right? Well, and that's if the funds are there. So I don't want them counting on something that might not be there.
So just give them a call or something. Say, hey, I did an interview. Don't watch it.
That's right. Yes.
I was involved in FCA when I was in high school. And I remember Coach Wolf, we would meet, the evenings, usually around 7:00 in his classroom. There would be about 10 or 15 of us. And as a student or as an athlete, you just you see one side of it. And that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on, because people that watch this and want to get involved in FCA, I wanted them to know what was involved.
Mm-hmm.
A lot, like you said, a lot of people want to get involved in stuff. And I don't mean this ugly, until they see the work involved in getting involved.
Yes.
I need to write that down. That was pretty good. The work involved in getting involved. That was an RJ quote by RJ Allen. I'm copywriting that one. So someone will see this and go, no, it was someone else said it before you. Thanks. But I really appreciate the fact that you came on and explained everything. And FCA is such a vital ministry to these athletes. I know, depending on the school and everything, a lot of these kids might not have the home life that I was lucky enough to grow up in, and my kids were lucky enough to grow up and are blessed enough. I know I've coached kids that were scared to go home, didn't have a meal when they got home.
Yeah.
And when you get into coaching, there's a lot that you're not prepared for.
Yeah.
And having FCA there to give these kids, hope that, there's a God out there that cares for you. And, he wants to help you. And FCA brings that to these individuals. And I've always loved that FCA did stuff like that. And I can't thank you enough for all the hard work that you put into it. I know you work countless hours. Ministry is extremely tough because I know, like people are always pulling at you, like I was pulling at you to do this interview. And people always want something. They're always, an interview to talk to you, to get involved. And with the family and your wife, and as much as you do, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done and really put yourself out there. And you're doing a great job. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And if I could add something to what you were talking about, how much the kids, it's an encouragement to them and how much they need it. It's something that's not realized about FCA is just as much as we're trying to help the kids, maybe even more so, we're trying to help the coaches. I think it was Billy Graham said that the coach will influence more people in a year than the average person will in a lifetime. Another person said that the most powerful words in the English language are coach said. If coach says it, hey, we'll do it. And so who's coaching the coaches? They have a demanding job. They're sacrificing time away from their family. There's a pretty high divorce rate among coaches. Families busting up. And so to be there to come alongside them and to help them keep the right perspective and to try to help coach them of how to live that balanced life in the midst of all that. After all, FCA will go there and influence the kids as much as we can, but that coach is there for years.
Right.
And so if we can, what we're trying to do is influence the influencers. And so after being in just a short amount of time I have coaches that text me questions that say, hey, can you meet with me? I have some personal issues I want to talk about. And just to be an ear for them, to let them talk, to try to encourage them. It's really an awesome ministry to be a part of.
Yeah, and I know being a coach, you don't have that outlet a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Because everyone's always coming to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes having that outlet that you provide is amazing.
Yes, sir.
So we thank you tremendously for that outlet.
It's my pleasure.
Anything else you would like to add?
Nah, I mean, hey, if you're out there and you would love to be a part of FCA, if you'd like to get involved, get in touch with me. My email address is rwise, that's RWISE @fca.org. And we'd love to have your help, whether that's volunteer, whether that's financial support, whether that's, whatever it is, coming on staff. If you think, man, I feel like the Lord's calling me to that. We'd love to have you be a part. There's a lot to do. There's more to do than my current staff can do. We're always looking for more help.
Well, I can't thank you enough again for everything that you do. And thank you so much for being part of the Dream Big, Pray Hard, Never Quit interview series.